Welcome to Vows, Sex, and Housekeeping, a marriage refresh podcast.
So, hey, welcome to Vows, Sex, and Housekeeping. I'm Damon Rich, and this is kind of a special multi-part series, Conversations with a Husband. As I've shared before, my wife and I just shared 24 great years of marriage, and I was just reflecting on some things, as I often do, about what 24 years of marriage means, what it's like, share some lessons. And I just wanted to provide some thoughts from a husband's perspective. You can see us there in the corner. I was definitely a lot thinner, and my wife has pretty much not changed much as it relates to that. She's fattened me up. And so I just want to share some things that I hope will help husbands and even help wives out there over this multi-part series called Conversation with a Husband, as a part of the Vows, Sex, and Housekeeping podcast. So just want to start from the beginning, right? Start from the beginning. I was 22 in that picture that you see there. I was 22 years old. My wife is slightly older than me by a year. And so here I am, 22 years old. What is a 22-year-old thinking at this moment in time in this picture? So let me just tell you a little bit, kind of leading up to this moment that you see here. So met my wife. We met at when we first met, we dated about maybe 6 months before we got married, 6 to 8 months. And I'd gotten out of our previous relationship right before I met her. And I actually had a son on the way. And people have often speculated, well, did you cheat? And is that how your son came about? And that wasn't the case. I was completely out of that relationship before I got married to my wife. And so, man, it was just a journey. And I knew almost instantly, or within a month, that I wanted to marry this woman that I had met. The woman who I could build with. I met that lady. And, reflecting back now, 24 years later, I was just telling my wife the other day, I said, I've now officially been with you for over half my life. I'm 46. We've been married for 24 years. I've officially been with you for over half my life. There's only been one woman for over half of my life. I've only slept with one woman for over half of my life. And not that that's just to be applauded. I think when you get into marriage, it is about commitment. We should show forth commitment and faithfulness and fidelity. Or fidelity. I don't want you to misinterpret it. I'm saying we should have infidelity, but we should show forth fidelity. And so 24 years we've been doing this. And so here I am, this young guy. I want to marry this lady, and I'm making $6.45 an hour. And I recognize something in today's dating market. I wouldn't even got a chance because I'm not a six-figure dude, right? But I was a good dude. I was coming out of a phase of my life where I was getting out of the streets, and I wasn't even raised in the streets. I just decided to be a knucklehead for a little while. But I was finding my way back from thug life, so to say, getting back on track, and with God's leading. And I met this phenomenal woman. Funny story. We almost didn't make it. We almost didn't get married. So my wife was, she went on a trip, a mission trip to out of the country, and both of us are in healthcare, and she went on this mission trip. And on the way back, we get into this huge argument after I surprise pick her up because I've got her car. I mean, we broke all the stereotypical rules. I had a car, but I'm the dude. She's leaving her car with me sometimes, blah, 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 blah. Again, on today's dating market, if a young lady would have met me then, I don't even get a look, I don't think. Not for anything serious, because again, I'm not able to provide. I'm making $6.45 an hour when I meet my wife, and she's making more money than me, not by a lot, but she's making more money than me, almost double per hour. And so here I am, and we get into this argument, and one of my rules, something that's kind of in me, I can't think of a young lady that I dated that after I broke up with them, that I went back to be their boyfriend, right? I may have gone back to have sex or something like that, but as far as being their boyfriend, that wasn't the case. And so my wife and I broke up after this big argument and some things, and then my grandfather passed away. And normally I would turn to my road dogs or whatever, but for whatever reason, I wanted to talk to her. I needed her. And just so happened, she was out of town, and in a town that was not a short distance away from where my grandfather lived, where I was born and raised, for part of my life. And so she was able to be there for me in that moment. And that's what caused me to like, hey, can we reconcile? Can we get back together? And ultimately we ended up getting married. And so, you know, we decided to get married. First time I asked her, she said no. And then because she didn't want me to, you know, my son to be born. And then all of a sudden I get emotions for my son's mom again and leave her high and dry. She wanted to just wait and see what happens. So my son was born, and like August of the same year we got married. So August, September, October, we got married, a couple of months after my son was born. And we've been doing it since then. We've been doing it, like, here we are 24 years later. But on the day we got married, because in state where we're at, you can get the license, but then you have to wait, I think, at least 4 hours before you can actually go and be married. And we got married at the courthouse. Again, by today's standards, I don't know a lot of young ladies. I know some people that do it, but it's kind of looked down upon. But as we do in our marriage and relationship coaching business, we often tell people, like, y'all spend a lot of money on the wedding and you don't prepare for the marriage. You could probably use that money for the marriage instead of for the wedding. Have a nice reception, but don't put yourself too far out for an event that largely is about impressing people and sometimes creating some memorable moments for you. But yeah, do something different with that. So, and the really crazy thing is that we kind of had to wait because we had to get paid so that we could afford, I think it's like an $80 license to get married, right? So we file our license, we get married, and we walk out of the courthouse almost kind of shocked, like, what in the hell did we just do? And I'm sitting over there like, what am I thinking? Right? I love her, but did I need to do this yet? I told some of my friends, after the fact. I didn't even tell my mom, her mom. No one really knew we got married, but a handful of people after the fact. And even then we kept it under wraps for a little while because we did have a traditional wedding on a very tight budget. Because I felt like she deserved that, didn't want to rob her of that. And we had that moment. And so that was not quite a year later we had it, but that we did have it. But I can remember, and I know this is going to sound hokey. This is going to sound like, oh, you're just making this up. I can remember we were both kind of wondering, what the hell did we just do? And she had a little black sports car at that time, and where we're at, we're going out of the courthouse, and the way the road kind of goes, it kind of goes down and then it comes back up. And I think we were going to Sam Goody's or something. She was buying me the latest Silk the Shocker CD from No Limit Soldiers, right? Master P and the crew. And as we're coming up, as we're both kind of walking, because we walk down the court hallways kind of looking separate ways, like, what in the hell did we just do? And then we get to a place where we're in the car and we're still not really looking at each other, not really sure what we've done. And we're coming up this hill and it's not raining. And we see two of the most beautiful rainbows you ever want to see as we're coming up that hill. And I think that's when we finally looked at each other and kind of felt like we're going to be okay. Because both of us have a faith slant and belief, Christian belief. And so we were trusting God, and it's kind of like that was his sign, like, you guys are going to be okay. I ordained this. You're right where I want you to be. And so we kind of got about the journey of living as a married couple. And for our first year, we stayed with my mother-in-law, and that's a whole nother journey that I'll talk about in episode 2. But we stayed with my mother-in-law for a year before we finally got our own home. And so, what the hell was I doing? I don't know. I grew up seeing marriage most of my life. When my mom married my stepfather, they had a very good marriage. And so as far as I could tell, and my wife didn't necessarily grow up seeing marriage, but even though I grew up seeing marriage, it wasn't like I got a chance to sit down and talk and be taught about marriage. And so I would tell you this, the one thing I would give you for sure is talk to someone about marriage before you even get started. Talk to someone about what you're getting into. Understand those vows. Understand the expectations. Understand the reality of things that come along with marriage. And if you do that, I think you will be in a pretty good spot. And listen, when you go and talk to those folks, don't go in with any preconceived notions. We often tell people, because we've seen it in so many of our coaching sessions, that announcing that you're going to get married, invitations, babies on the way, those expectations have probably failed more marriages before they even got started, because you saw something that says that at the very least we should wait, we should slow down, but you ignored it because the spotlight's on your relationship now. And so we tell people, don't let false pressure cause you to jump into something that maybe you're reserved about or hesitant about. Take your time, back up if you need to. If you've already set a date and you go into marriage coaching and counseling and they're like, you guys are not ready, be okay with changing the date. My wife for years said we got married too young. I had a reason that I wanted to get married young, and I'll share that with you in wrap. So I always wanted to make sure that when I got married, that I was building something with someone. I didn't want to have it all figured out and then bring her in, whoever that woman was going to be. I didn't want to have it all figured out and then bring her in. And some of that has to do with my own personality. I know that at times I can be selfish. And just because of different things I've gone through, rejection, abandonment, those attachment issues that I've worked through most of my life, that if I've like built it and then you come in, I was afraid that I would be like, when you try and speak up and be that partner, I was like, who are you to come in here and tell me what to do. All this was already in place when you got here. And I just never want to be that husband. I want to be the husband that we built this together and it is ours. So even if I do get in that mode, I'm kind of reminded we built this together. And so I knew that if I didn't get married probably by about 25, I wasn't getting married till probably in my late 30s, early 40s. And I didn't want that either. And so I'm just kind of, want you to understand that husbands, when you get ready to walk into marriage, it is something serious. And you're getting ready to go on the most sacrificial journey that you will ever undertake. And I'll talk more about that in another episode. So that's all I have for you. Look out for additional episodes on Conversations with a Husband. I'm Damon Rich. Until the next time.